Welcome to a special edition of Talk Back. Two hot topics, great guests, your comments. On tap, a possible motive for Newtown shooter Adam Lanza, and the latest event to stop Washington in its track, the sequestration, or those forced budget cuts. Playing with us today, Democratic strategist and former DNC Communications Chair Maria Cardona, Chief Political Correspondent for Politic 365, and Hiram College Professor Jason Johnson, CNN contributor and analyst for The Blaze, Will Cain, and Republican consultant and former South Carolina Republican Party Chair, Caton Dawson. First question, talk back. How should the media report on serial killers? Maybe now we know why. Why a troubled young man opened fire in Sandy Hook Elementary School. It wasn't because he was unloved or bullied, but obsessed with mass murderers like Anders Breivik, a vicious Norwegian man who killed 77 people in 2011.
Officials have not publicly revealed what precisely led them to the motive. But sources say investigators have found evidence Lanza was obsessed with Breivik. They've also recovered what they call a trove of violent video games from the basement of Lanza's home. Sources say Lanza spent countless hours there alone in a private gaming room with the windows blacked out, honing his computer shooting skills.
So, as CBS reports, Adam Lanza was fixated on a real-life serial killer and honed his shooting skills playing make-believe. If this theory is true, it reignites the debate over how much media airtime the media ought to give killers. What if the media had never mentioned Breivik's name, never shown his picture, never reported a single story, and most importantly, never shared with you the who, how, and why? The thing is, killers may be inspired by serial killers they see as media stars, but they're also inspired by other things. Charles Manson, a serial killer, was inspired by the Beatles' White Album. Mark David Chapman, the man who killed John Lennon, was inspired by the classic movie The Catcher in the Rye. And John Hinckley by the movie Taxi Driver, which he saw 15 times. He was so obsessed with its star, Jodie Foster, he shot President Reagan so Foster would look into her heart so he could gain her respect and love. Look, it's easy to blame the media for the carnage, but in my mind, that's a bit simplistic. My guess is you find it essential to know why. It's why you watch the news or read a blog or newspaper or book or watch one of the dozens of TV shows about serial killers. Dexter, anyone? So dig deep this morning, because what I'm about to ask you and our panelists doesn't have an easy answer. Talk back. How should the media report on serial killers? Jason Johnson.
Well, I think the first thing we should do is separate crazy people from actual motivations that may lead people to behave in a crazy way. Whether you're looking at Columbine with Dylan Klebold or you're looking at Adam Lanza, these are emotionally disturbed people. If it wasn't some serial killer in Sweden, it was going to be some serial killer somewhere else. It was going to be some video game. It doesn't really matter. But let's say if you look at Dorner in Los Angeles, that might be a situation where we can say, hey, look, this guy was a military vet. Maybe he had mental problems. Maybe there's some discrimination issues within the Los Angeles Police Department. So we got to separate the politics from the crazy people.
Will.
Yeah, I think as we try to step into the mind of a crazy man and readjust how we interact with each other, either through the media or actually legislate each other, we need to be careful because, look, the thing is this. This is you're looking at laws that have broad, or in the case of the media, broad, sweeping changes. This guy, as you point out, Carol, there could have been numerous motivations for what motivates these crazy people. I don't know that we have any massive lessons to learn here. By the way, what does media mean? Does that mean CNN? Does that mean newspapers? It's a changing definition. Does that mean websites and Twitter and Facebook won't post this guy's name and picture?
Exactly, Caton, because Will's absolutely right. I mean, Anders Breivik's names appeared everywhere, not just on CNN, not just on television.
Well, Carol, one of the things, I'll give a different take on this. These are very sick individuals, and certainly it's the media's responsibility to cover these acts. What I would hope, as in Georgia and South Carolina, where you can carry a concealed weapon legally, go through a background check, I hope the media reports when a citizen does take up for themselves and the people who are unprotected before law enforcement can get on the scene, and start showing those scenes of where we've had enough as a public of people preying on our children, preying on innocent citizens, and regardless of what the excuses of why they did it, that's the kind of coverage I hope to see in the media, of where the public has stepped up legally with background checks, carrying weapons, and being able to protect themselves. I think that's one of the answers and the solutions.
And we did actually cover a case exactly like that here in Georgia a couple of weeks ago. But Maria, back to this notion that the media makes stars of serial killers, and that's what inspires mentally ill people to go on these mass shooting rampages. I mean, in your mind, is that what happens?
To blame the media, Carol, is just way too simplistic, and I think that's what you mentioned, and I completely agree with that. And it also takes away the personal responsibility from the person, and it takes away the collective responsibility from all of us in society and legislator and leaders and community leaders to really figure out how to stop this from happening in the future. Should the media report on these events responsibly and carefully? Absolutely. And the media should be careful to be correct instead of being first to report it. And we know that there have been some instances of that. But in terms of blaming the media for this, I think it is a way too simplistic to say there's not one reason for this. If, you know, like you said, there's plenty of reasons to go around as to what inspired these mass killers. If it wasn't the media, it's going to be video games. If it wasn't the video games, we heard initially that it was because he was afraid that his mother was going to commit him. So we really don't know, but we really should focus collectively on what needs to be done in terms of a solution.
Okay, I want to find out what our Facebook friends think about this question. The question again, how should the media report on serial killers? This from Dennis. It's a double-edged sword. The information may help a parent recognize a problem, or it could inspire a teenager. This from Melinda. It's ironic to blame guns but not the media. Both are tools and resources of troubled individuals. Keep the conversation going. Facebook.com/CarolCNN or tweet me at CarolCNN. Next talkback question, what would you say to Congress to avoid forced budget cuts? You know, sequestration. We'll be right back.